checking the Reggae Shack, KTHX 100.1 FM, Dayton, Reno, myradiox.com worldwide. Two Dread here, and right now, stepping into the shack all the way from St. Croix, Virgin Islands. I'm very honored to welcome from Midnite, in my opinion, the most relevant reggae artist in the world in this 21st century, Vaughn Benjamin. Greeting, Vaughn. How you doing tonight?
Blessed love, and blessed love, everyone. Blessed love, Nevada, Reno.
Give thanks, man. You're coming in loud and clear right now, and I want to thank you for stepping into the Reggae Shack tonight. I know it's late there in the Virgin Islands, so thank you so much for staying up for us tonight.
Give thanks, Ayman.
Yes, I. Also give thanks for all the spirit and food for thought Midnite has provided to the world. Tonight I'm here with Brother Ishans of Higher Bound Productions, featuring your newest album offering, the Higher Bound production, Free Indeed. What are your vibes and feelings about this album?
Well, as you know, the music is social commentary, what's happening, and more time I don't necessarily form an opinion yet. I just make the music and give it a minute for the people to feel it,
So most of your music expression and creation is just sort of spontaneous?
Yes.
Wow. That was one of the things I wanted to ask you, is how much pen and paper is involved in your musical creations, but it sounds like it just flows, huh?
Well, of course, pen and paper is good too for structure and to make sure that we are careful about what it is that we feed to the children airwave,
Yes, I. Now, how did this album come to be called Free Indeed?
Well, one of the songs on the album is called Free Indeed, and it turns out that at the same time that we didn't even recognize that certain situations were happening, and it just happens so that even situations where gun crime and everything out of control, those are things being addressed in the song.
Yeah. So you feel like maybe we're not as free as we think we are these days?
Right.
Yeah, man. Now, some of the listeners here in the Reno Lake Tahoe area might be experiencing Midnite vibes for the very first time tonight. How would you describe to them this musical mission to which you have devoted your life?
Well, I know in the first place that the united humanity is the situation, really, universal human rights. So whatever the music can do to make plain to the whole world that we are of just one humanity out of one common progenitor, and how we can go and refine our humanity, that we are more civil and create a better ambience in the world,
Yeah.
This is the situation.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, man. I know one of the things that many, many people appreciate about Midnite is just the sheer amount of information you're offering in your music. You must devour a lot of books or newspapers, or how do you get all the food for thought that you're providing to people?
Well, life itself is a study, and it's a combined study. It isn't just books, it's a study of everything, life, every day. Things which are mundane and common, and things which are rare. So, it is good to study. As you know, His Majesty Haile Selassie is the Minister of Information,
Yeah, man, definitely.
In terms of education, I'm saying, so Minister of Education, so it gives people better decision making when they are better exposed.
Yes, and in your music you provide so much of that information that people can ponder and consider in different ways than it's being presented in other areas of Babylon, like with some of the different juxtapositions of words that you're famous for using. That's super interesting, and I think it gives people kind of just a different perspective on common words that they might not otherwise even think about.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, give thanks for that, man. Now, you have established yourself as one of the most important figures in reggae music in this century, taking your place in a line that leads to legends like Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Yabby U, Ross Michael, Muda Baruka. What do you feel is your common thread that you share with some of these artists?
Well, it's a fact that coming out of struggle and out of the diaspora, of people dispersed in 400 years, because it was even written, and there's even coinage that commemorates such time, 1607, 2007 is 400 years, and this was commemorated in Jamestown. So be aware that the way the book spoke is actually very accurate of the Bible, of what's happening in the world, His Majesty 1492, Columbus, Columbus 1492, His Majesty 1892 is also 400.
Yeah. Wow, that is super profound, and you're giving me food for thought right now that I'll probably have to spend the rest of the evening pondering. But I know a lot of that comes out through your music, and that is something that you share with all those other artists. But do you feel like, as far as being able to express the reality of that, which many people are inspired to express, but only a few have really been able to express it in a way that touches the soul and touches the heart of people, like some of those reggae legends I mentioned. Like how do you feel that you have ended up with that blessing?
Well, everything can be described, Jah give inspiration to the children, and it's the same way all the different houses have little children, and there's some child somewhere now that's listening to music, and we don't even know what will be his inspiration tomorrow. But it depends on how well every house absorbs, and we don't know which house these things will come from, because Jah say you reign on the just and the unjust the same. Truth.
And I guess some people just they get that touch and they express it in their own way, and it reverberates with many.
Yes, I give thanks.
Yeah, man. Good, thanks for that. Now, you obviously have a performance sensibility in the visual and musical quality of your albums and live performances. Yet you are also obviously not doing this like for a round of applause. How do you approach, the high level of quality in your performing and in your albums without being showbiz?
Well, in the first place, moral responsibility is just about same time knowing that you haven't fed to the universe and to the children of the earth anything that is destructive for them, and that plays a big part in it. Yeah. Just knowing that each human being is just potentially about 8 generations, and themselves is 9, because it's like each human being, individually, because like your possibilities are to make a great-grandmother, a great-grandfather, and 4 generations each,
True.
So, because we have so much within us, we are generally still taught to be 1 generation, but all your actions influence down to the 4th generation.
Yeah. Now, and you, like, when you're expressing your music or performing your music, it's like you really feel the gravity of that reality, and that sort of directs your performance or directs your flow, huh?
It's very important to be careful, even for your own sense of well-being and guiltless sleep,
Yeah. Good, thanks, man. Now, 2012 has come and gone, and it seems like the world is still here. What is your feeling about where we are headed on this earth?
Well, the Bible says a new heaven and a new earth and a new name. And you have here everyone anticipate December 21, 2012 and so forth. But if they look into it, they will see the said cycle of the Mayan was begun on August 13 BC. So the fullness of a cycle would be from the beginning to the next beginning of the same, would it not?
That makes sense, yeah. So now are you coming with a new number for people to start focusing on here?
Not really. I'm saying take a look at the first words that I say is new heaven and new earth according to the Bible.
Yeah.
And we have been saying for years, long time before now, like transmutation or changes is not necessarily explosion. It's not necessarily explode. It's sometimes implode and change.
Yes.
So this is what I see happening. That the change is coming from internally, and they'll reflect externally.
In the works that people are doing, and in the works that you're doing in your music.
I'm saying universal consciousness rise already because of mass communication. So things which not necessarily have not looked so good and so forth, they turn out in a good way still to have united humanity to see even injustices and so forth.
Yeah, that collective consciousness is kind of taking effect a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Good, thanks, man. Now, do you feel reggae music in general is still upholding its honored place in spreading good vibes and spreading some of these truths throughout the world?
I think that in all currents of all things, in there's an ebb and a flow. In all things, forever is a pulsation, a high point and a low point, a polarity. So I'm very careful about how I comment upon the whole feel of the ones, because this whole feel of the ones have sent to the earth the most special things in the world, some of the most special music, So we all should take our time and be careful and give it a chance still always, because I'm saying there's a ebb and a flow, a high point and a low point in all things.
Right. So you can't really speak like absolutely about one certain thing, because that ebb and flow could even be happening like simultaneously.
Right, no, because it's not that simple. How do you, after you have man who created legendary music, superlative music, because when you look, not too many other people in the earth created it at all.
Yeah, true.
Who's to say,
Yeah.
Or when is the ebb and high point and the peak of the wave, and when is the trough of the wave? No one will know.
Truth. Now, Free Indeed is your second full album with Higher Bound. What are your vibes about creating sounds and lyrics with our brother Aishans from Higher Bound?
Well, I will tell you, it's part of making sure that your ego don't overpower. In terms of there are children all over the earth have different sociology and background and so forth, and they're all feeding their various communities also. So when we work together and link up influences from far distance, even thousand, of distance mile, we're actually bringing influences together where if in the field we realize that we're not each one just a singular unit, but we're towards the same issue and goal, the same overall goal, just better humanity, overall universal human rights, and try to come to a physical legislative law which is in accordance with the natural law.
Yes, and even though you might be coming from slightly different cultural backgrounds, or your manner of speaking might be a little bit different, you have to kind of like be flexible and just flow with that and realize that sort of overlying. Yeah,
it's a little bit of there, a little bit there, because like I'm saying, each one has their social relevance, and we help each other into different link, introduce whole unexposed crowds to each other. Really, that's what musicians do to each other already before it happens to the public.
Right, and when that is very fruitful, then some special things are created that the public can then tap into,
Yes, sir.
And, it seems like that really happens with some of the things you do with Aishans and some of the things you do with several of the people that you collaborate with, So that's one thing that strikes me about your works, is that you seem very willing and very open to collaborate with people from lots of different regions. Do you initiate that type of collaboration, or do those people come to you, or how does all that end up playing out?
It's just a journey on the road, Over the years you come into contact, you realize many people have something to contribute. Many people have talent and ability and so forth everywhere, all over Earth. So it's in recognition of the Most High, the Creator, the Almighty, Selassie, to know that he says many, as receive him, and to them give he power. So it's just recognition that is not no one person that makes these things go. You have all these different ones,
Yes, yes. Do you? I mean, you're obviously a veteran in the sound. You had a lot of time in the DC area, and and played your reggae music and worked all your works for a long time, and now you've moved into this international realm and everything, and you're really putting your ideas out worldwide. Do you ever just look back at your own musical journey and your ideological journey and just think like, wow, like look where I've come?
I mean, of course, you reflect upon things, but for the most part, life doesn't give you too much time for that, because just your rate of adjustment and adaptation is your speed of survival, really. Yeah, because there's always upgrade speed like tech,
Yeah.
So we have to stay relevant, and we have to break the formality of our situation back to street level vernacular,
Yeah. Just keep looking forward, not really spending too much time looking back and keeping score, so to speak.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, man. Speaking of score, in a lot of your music, a lot of the songs that I really appreciate that you do, like especially that one called Resilient Race, where you speak of, African warriors, professional ball player today.
Yeah.
I've noticed that for a long time, sort of like a lot of the, kind of tribal vibes and things that some sports figures characterize to sort of like get psyched up and things like that. Are you a sports fan, or have you, do you vibe on that kind of thing too?
Well, I will tell you, of course, to develop the human body and to take care of it as best as you can, that's a good thing, simply because that's the best way you can show that you are grateful to the forces that you were given something good,
Yeah, man. How do you feel about people using that kind of health and that kind of strength in a competitive way?
Well, competition, it depends upon the what do you call it, compensation and so forth. I mean, if it does anything to distort your spirit out of itself and make us greedy and overboard and so forth, it's not necessarily the bad thing. But we know everything has economy, like I said earlier, ebb and flow, and it takes something to make something happen, training. And so for the most time, it's sometimes pay off. It is for people who work hard,
Yeah. Do you, as a man who is part of the African diaspora, descendant from Africa itself, do you have knowledge personally of your own particular African heritage, like where, regions that your descendants came from, and what place or position they might have held in their tribal society?
I didn't take time to particularly do any of these things. What we know from what just naturally emanate from people, because it comes in lines, you see, and you may see now today me before you, but anything I am come from generations, of people. So for the most part, the credit isn't due to the result that we see at this point, It's coming from a long distance. So what I'm saying is that what shows up and what you see is the measure of the gravity of who we are, and more than anything that I can describe on the telephone.
I'm feeling that. Yeah. I hear that, man. Yeah, so many of the things that you're saying tonight, I feel like I need about 15 minutes to just sort of meditate on it,
Yes,
so, yeah, but, it's really my true desire was, since there's so many people in this area, we're in the Reno, Lake Tahoe area, kind of in the desert, sort of in the heart of Babylon. Plenty of reggae fans around here, but there's also plenty of people that listen to this station that really aren't really rooted in reggae music and don't have a familiarity with you, and I just wanted to, you know, give them a chance to feel your vibes, and you know, even if
everything for the greater good is of value. Eh?
Yeah, man.
Anything we do for the greater good to make a better balance is as good, you know, and it's worth the time, and it's worth staying up to do it. You know, see?
Yeah, I definitely give thanks for that, man. You know, my wife pointed out to me as I was getting ready to come over here, you know, saying, you know, there's many different types of Rastas, you know, and she wanted me to ask you, what does Rastafari mean to you?
Well, I mean, it's not simply what it means to me, you know, it's what it means to the whole world. Mm-hmm. Because we know that origins and roots and original culture that dispersed out of Africa across the world by this time, universities, higher learning already familiar at this point now. And even though there's disputation still about the ancient Ethiopia being in the Euphrates and somewhere close to Syria and Hamokar, even though there is such discussion on biblical evidence to verify such too, we know it's the world that this information belongs to. Every color, not just black. Mm-hmm. Every color. And because of geological changes that make people look different, the surface now make us all treat each other differently, but in the root we are one humanity, and even genus and species.
Yes.
You know, all the big cats are big cats. They don't mate, they don't create new life, and the humans do across the board, period.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful reality, and you know, your music, so much about your music expresses that reality and allows people to grab onto that and digest it, you know. So that's huge works, and you know, I know we all give thanks for that, man. His
Majesty say the most revolutionary thing there is to hear, you know, we must become a new race, something that our education and upbringing has not prepared us to be. And we can see from, like I said, mass communication, mass transportation, and what's happening in Earth right now, that's what's happening, whether or not the people agree or disagree. You know. That's what's happening anywhere.
That's true, you know, and yet some people would look at the world and say, man, there's like a mass dumbing down going on, you know. Like you say, that ebb and flow thing, you know, it seems like as things are moving along and getting more dialed in many ways, and people are finding ways to come together, we're also...
We know it's happening. No one can tell us it's not. You know that the change is coming.
Yeah.
And like I say, maybe we've learned to expect the wrong things in terms of what we think we will get from all of this music and vibration. Maybe it was just a better overall perception of life, you know?
That's quite possible, and I think there probably is those who would, you know, have made a point of making sure that we expect the, you know, incorrect thing, you know.
Yes, I am.
So, yeah, I mean, again, that's something that I think in your works you're really helping give people a different perspective on what they're hearing over the airways, what, you know, the things that are just floating around and going into our ears that most of us, you know, that we don't get the other side of the story. So, you know, that seems to be, you know, one of the great values of your music, you know, so.
Yes, well, it's, you know, again, you know, remember, any people that try to take away the prerogatives given by Jah in terms of choice of the human beings, most time this will run afoul, it will go badly. So, Rasta don't want to try to force anyone to see anything, you know. We want to use the same principle from the garden, free, you know, choice, like the name of the new music, Free Indeed.
Right, okay.
And, yeah, so, because we know any despot and any decisions like this, dictator, any things, which you will inevitably fail if the people's God-given choice from Eden Garden is not involved.
truth, and that's been repeated and repeated and repeated over history, you know, so that's a true statement for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And, you know, that grace and that feeling of not forcing and not trying to necessarily persuade people, but just sort of offering, you know, it really comes through in the sound of your music, in the smoothness of your music, and the smoothness of your vocals, in, you know, just the visual presentation when you're on stage. The whole thing has a gracefulness to it that I think really makes people receptive to your vibes, you know, so it seems like everything I say tonight I'm ending up with give thanks or big up or something, but
this is this is how we want to live, you know, giving thanks non-stop, you know. When you read the verse that say, I will praise Jah the Lord at all times, his praises will continually be within my mouth, you know.
Yeah.
Morning into evening, evening into morning, you know.
It's a very right and natural feeling, you know, so
yes.
Again, I appreciate you, you know, making sure that you put that in people's minds through your music, and along with all the different information and ideas that you express, you know.
Yes, man.
So, yeah, it's, you know, such an honor to talk to you, Vaughn. I could go all night long, but I think that people probably want to hear another track from your new album, so I want to just say give thanks for stepping into the Reggae Shack this evening, and, you know, we're going to see you here in the Reno Lake Tahoe area March 22nd at the Crystal Bay Club up in beautiful Lake Tahoe. So everybody, you know, we all look forward to seeing you, and we'll be there, and I look forward to coming up and just, you know, saying hey and give thanks for this night, you know. Well,
Jah willing, like we say down in the Caribbean, St. Croix, Jah willing and just spare life. Man will be there, and it will be my pleasure to be forward to do this work.
All right, give thanks for that, man. We're going to move into another Midnite track from Free Indeed. This one's called Perpetual Vortex. What can you share about this track before I push play?
Well, like the descriptive of the words, you know, never ending, you know, and even the bottom of the ocean, and even the infinity of circularity, where there is no point, no distinction between east, west, north, or south. Everything become reconciled. This is more or less something like this. The music is trying to communicate.
Beautiful. All right, we're going to let the music take over right now, and with that, I will talk to you soon, and again, I give thanks for all of your works and for stepping into the Reggae Shack tonight.
I give thanks, Rastafari.
Yes, bless, Vaughn. Vaughn Benjamin in the Reggae Shack tonight here on 100.1 X Radio. Right now we're going to move into another cut from Free Indeed. This one is Perpetual Vortex. You're checking it here on 100.1 DX.
See, farmers studying the runoff and the silt for maximizing organic cleanliness of fields. Hydroelectric still viable to bring water to the fields. Human economical suffering. Many ones already mobilizing. Many ones with no access to these things. At the act of the word, get forward the method.